In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Moon Tea Podcast. You know who John and Hugh are. Today we're joined by Heather. Heather, what's your last name?
Mcnutt-Kaestner.
You heard it here first. Heather and I know each other because my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend is good friends with Heather's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. So the girlfriends stayed together.
Yeah, I was like, hey Heather, want to be on the podcast? You have cool stuff to talk about. You're a friendly person. Also, we need someone on the podcast for this week. So.
all important qualifying factors. I had to go through a rigid application process actually, so I passed.
And yeah, Heather does cool stuff, and she also does cool stuff on the side. Heather, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, totally. So I'm Heather. I currently live in Beaverton, Oregon. I'm a native Oregonian, so I love all things PNW. Hobbies include kind of like musical theater kind of stuff too, so I have a little extra flair on this side. And what I do for work is I currently work at Columbia Sportswear company, so I specialize in our global learning and leadership development, basically just making our people better because, innovation comes from people first. And so on the side, I used to do career development work back when I was in college. And so when the pandemic hit, I thought, shoot, what if I get laid off? And I had a passion to be writing resumes, which is something I used to be doing part-time. And so now I signed up for an account on Fiverr, and it kind of hit off. And so now I'm a part-time, full-time freelance resume writer as well. And I do a lot of additional things that clients randomly ask me to do on top of that too, not just resumes.
Wow. Fiverr entrepreneur.
Yep. Yeah, but if you want me to write a Tinder bio, that was a recent request, so I'll also do that.
This is
we
amazing.
found the balance between good guy, not too douchey. He has a lot of plants. I said that was a selling point for him.
Do you talk to your clients on the phone typically?
So yeah, I did phone consultations a lot, and that was pretty nice because I think a trend for people applying for jobs is pretty interesting. One was a lot of clients just didn't have enough confidence in themselves. So I would do phone consultations to get a little bit of background and context behind some of their work, because I think people just forget to like bring up the things they really should be bragging about on their resumes. So I would pull out some of the metrics or achievements if they're like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of did that. But those phone conversations ended up just kind of turning into more of like a, hey, you do realize like you're more qualified than you think. And you should actually be applying for a job that's maybe a level up than what you're looking at right now. So I really do like connecting with clients one-on-one, but it got tricky with international folk finding the right time. And when I was getting too many orders, I decided to just take a break from the phone consultations, even though, I do appreciate the human connection. We stick to the message board.
Who was your most memorable client, and why was it the stripper?
Yeah, I've had a few memorable clients. I had somebody win like Nickelodeon awards. I had quite a few like execs or like startup founders of cool things. But my favorite obviously was I worked on a stripper's resume. And so she came to me and was like, hey, I've got no resume, shocker here, but she was trying to find a stripping job in the middle of a pandemic. She was like, the market is tough. I think a resume will help me out. And I was like, heck yeah, you're absolutely right. I think a resume will help you stand out. Because she's in the entertainment industry, I advised her to attach a photo to her resume. And, she gave me a few options. She was like, cleavage, no cleavage. I was like, cleavage. And she actually followed up pretty quickly. She did get the job. They were impressed. She's a stripper with a pretty clean looking resume. So she was all for it. And I actually ended up following up with her after she got that job to update her resume again. So she was all for it.
You're doing good things in this world. That's actually awesome.
Yeah, I didn't realize what a confidence booster it would be for people to have another person with a more objective lens see what you're doing and being able to put that in the right words as something that would resonate with the recruiter or really show and demonstrate the impact behind what they do.
Wow. How did you end up figuring out that you like writing resumes?
Yeah, well, when I joined college, I was like annoyingly pragmatic freshman, and I knew that I
one of
wanted
those.
to be involved. Absolutely, yeah.
But did you have a 5-year plan written out too?
Oh, don't. Yeah, well, 4-year.
I thought you were saying like 10.
Yeah, so I went to college with pretty serious mindset of like, I'm going to college to get a job more than it, and kind of the curiosity behind my studies and whatnot came with it as well. But pretty much -1 when I was touring, they didn't show us the career development office. And so I followed up with a second tour to meet them. And when I was a freshman, I bugged them enough times that I was like, hey, let me know when you're hiring, because I want to be hired as a career development specialist there. And so they have students that help in their office and help with their programming. And they had a few students help with writing resumes, and they had a few students help with like mock interviews even. So I got to the point where I was a student and still a career development specialist for students that were maybe older than me, helping them write up and edit their resumes. So obviously I got trained through there on all the resume writing rules. And that's one way that I market myself on Fiverr, because I've got competition of people saying, hey, I'm from Harvard, I'll write your resume, and I say, hey, I know the modern millennial take on resume writing. I know, the ATS system, or I know the, what recruiters are actually looking for. They don't want to, a lot of them don't want to read your objective statement or something like that, right? So that was something that I could bring to the table, was try and actually play off that, hey, I am younger, but I can give you a fresh look.
Wow. Okay. All right. This is amazing. So this is the beginning of the most lucrative Fiverr resume shop ever.
I got overwhelmed with like the orders, so I kept upping my price, like expecting somebody would stop for sure. But I think another thing, is I have a communications degree. So, and in fact, one of those degrees, I have 2 in communication. One's in more journalism. And so I learned like really rigid AP style book writing, where you can say more with less. And so clean writing is kind of ties in really well to what resumes are all about. And I think just a natural curiosity or being snoopish perhaps is a good way to get into resume writing as well. If you think it's kind of interesting to be like, ooh, what's this person up to? What's their career journey? If you find yourself being that person on LinkedIn, then maybe you should look into writing resumes too.
Wow. Heather, you don't want people to compete with you.
Just kidding. It all sucks.
Heather's like, bring it on. You can't beat me.
Don't call yourself a millennial. I'm the whole market. Gen Z, get out.
Gen Z, get out. Whole nother writing style, I'm sure. No. What is, I'm curious, what is the handle for Fiverr?
So on Fiverr, I'm Heather MK resume, but I hope to expand to my own business, which I would shorten that just to MK resume. So I've got a domain name, and that's where we're at right now.
Ooh, well done. That's awesome. That's definitely in the right direction.
Yeah, I actually started it when I was on vacation to San Francisco and had to pull an all-nighter to get the orders done. So Jonah was there with me, and he was very patient as I slept in on our vacation day, because I didn't realize I would actually receive orders from people.
Jonah is Heather's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So what is so it seems like this is something you really like doing, like working with people and helping develop their career and uh, just like connecting with people and like helping them have confidence in themselves.
Yeah.
What do you see as kind of the medium and long term vision of what this could be?
Yeah, totally. Well, it's kind of interesting because, you know, you don't look at yourself at being an entrepreneur, right? Because I always thought of that as like the dude with like the sweet family trust fund that was like, hey, I'm gonna think of an idea. I'm gonna like think really hard and I'm gonna come up with like a sick idea and then I'm gonna make like tons of money off of it, you know? And instead it was kind of me just being like, this is, you know, something I'm lacking that I wanted to do. And now it has exponentially grown to a level that I can't handle. I had to hire someone and I could easily hire several other someones. And frankly, you know, because the work has grown, I've always been more of a high level person anyway. So I would love to have other writers for me. And that would be the vision, right? Is to look at the MK resume at a high level business approach and still have global clients, but have them kind of come to my team and be able to manage them that way. So, you know, I think the vision is more, you know, not something that I started with, and it's something I just kind of being naturally came to be. It's either this crashes and burns, I crash and burn from receiving too many orders, or, you know, it grows.
Yeah. Visionary.
So if
Entrepreneur.
anybody likes to write resumes, I'm hiring.
That's amazing. Wait, so just refresh me. So you said something about, is this your full-time job now or part-time side gig that's becoming a
No,
full-time? Or
it's a side gig. So I work and I love my job. So, you know, I'm not looking to exit that out, but it's kind of similar to what John was saying, where you're supporting other folks. So you're thinking about their career development and growth. So I work on global learning and leadership development at Columbia Sportswear. So that marries some of my other passions as well, whether I'm facilitating, you know, orientation programs, or whether I'm running, you know, a global program to help create a culture of learning at the company. It kind of ties in with some of those interests as well. So that's what I'm still up to.
all right, so I've never heard of a title of global, what was it? Learning and
leadership development.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. I didn't know what it was either. I studied communications. I thought I'd be marketing because that's like a word that I knew. But essentially you wear a lot of hats. So there's usually a learning and development specialist. We tacked on the word leadership because we have specific programs for executives. But essentially you wear a facilitation hat, you build programs, you execute programs, and you socialize them globally. So you get to have a lot of different things and areas of the company that you get to have your hands in on, but hopefully giving everyone a more equitable experience in terms of providing them with the tools and skills and capabilities they need to focus on their career development, which ultimately benefits the company.
Whoa, that's amazing. So you mainly focus on more managerial and up type seats for?
No, we actually are pretty equitable, and some of the programs I run were some of the first that touched employees at all levels. So when I first came in, we're a pretty small team, as you can imagine. Corporate dollars go where the corporate receives the dollars, right? But we first had like situational leadership classes. We gauged areas of the business where we thought they needed support, and also provided direct insight for specific teams that were needing it. So it was a mix of like enabling leaders, putting out fires for teams. When I joined, it was more about, okay, we're able to do that. What's the next step? And it's about equitable opportunities for learning and career development. So we have like foundational company capabilities that we, you know, help employees learn how to have their own learning and development plan, for example, and that kind of thing. So I get to do not just work at the higher level, but with all of our employees, and we expand it to our retail too, not just corporate.
Wait, you're telling me that employees have the ability or are supposed to find their own learning trajectories and not just be told what they should be learning and growing into?
Yeah, it turns out. And in fact, we provide them
I
with the
don't believe
resources to
it. figure
figure out how to do that.
What does this
Yeah,
even
don't you love
mean?
it when companies are like, you run your own career, we're hands off, and we don't actually give you the resources? Well, we try and do some of that.
That's actually super cool. That's very important too. I mean, I've had a few gigs in my time, and a few of them, it definitely was difficult. I remember struggling a lot, especially my first few jobs just out of college. I was so new to everything and felt a bit lost. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not the happiest. I don't know how to communicate. I'm just a bundle of like, oh, blah, 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 you know?
Blah, blah, blah.
Where was your
Absolutely.
team when I was growing?
When I was your age, I was blah, 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 you know?
Blah, 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 blah. No, that's cool. Do you have, so if in that train of thought though, just with anybody in this equitable ability to disseminate information to empower people that are in the workforce, what are some of maybe 1, 2, or 3 key points or takeaways you might have, if you have any, that you think would be beneficial to anyone listening to the one or two?
Yeah, in terms of just kind of furthering your own career development, that kind of thing. Yeah, I would say one is ask smart questions. Whenever you're an intern, use that intern card, because people take it easy on you. And so I had the opportunity to have a global HR summit that I attended, where our CEO was answering questions and everyone was giving him softballs, because he's our CEO, and you got to kind of you don't want to offend anyone in front of a big group. But I was able to kind of ask him a harder question, which I don't even remember what the question was now, but everyone else does. And so that's feedback that I receive sometimes is, typically I'm the youngest in the room. I'm the least experienced in the room. I understand that I totally don't have the answers, but I've done my research and I might have a good question that others haven't considered. So that's gotten me pretty far in the work that I do. So I would say that's number one. And number two would be up for anything, and also recognizing the point when you're not the person that's up for anything and you've actually got specific skills. So I think it takes a little bit of taking on a lot of extra responsibility at first in your career, and kind of being like, yeah, nobody else wants to do this, I'll do that. And if you can find some joy in doing what nobody else wants to do, that's where I've gotten a lot of extra responsibility and a lot of free reign, because everyone's like, ew, I work on a very right brain creative team. And so when I work on, when nobody wants to do something slightly left brain, I take it on. And they're like, oh my God, wow, you're great. I would never want to do that, So I think that's helpful for someone earlier in their career as well.
Oh, that's amazing.
Heather, can I just say you deserve all the career success you've had so far?
Thank you. So tell my boss that, and tell her to give me that for my paycheck too.
Anyone at Columbia, if you're listening.
Tell them.
A little bit of a topic change, because so far it seems like Heather is all hustle and
hustle, all gains.
Yeah, getting to the next rung on the ladder, but that is not the case. She does tons of really cool outdoorsy stuff. I think you're out of the house like every weekend.
Yeah, for the past month or two, where it was a little tiring.
So Hugh, you ask questions, but she does tons of really cool outdoorsy stuff. And also we're going rafting, whitewater rafting on Saturday. Just like four people in one raft, but
yeah, we got John on the level 5 rapids. We're gonna be flinging him off the boat.
I wish.
Nah.
I wish. I wanna wear a helmet.
Oh,
yeah. It was nice knowing you.
Hardcore next time.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's so cool. Oh my God. You know, John's always like, I'm doing this. I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. I wanna get out
Yeah.
more. I Arizona has been great, but time to adventure. COVID's
It's hard
coming
to
off.
get out in Arizona,
And it's not too bad.
you know,
You've got like
in the heat, I
Flagstaffs.
wonder. Yeah, I hear Flagstaff is cool. Yeah, I actually learned kind of some of my love for the outdoors, even though I'm a PNW native. I didn't grow up in a family that camped or hiked or anything. And so I studied abroad and realized like how gorgeous the environment is around you and how much more interesting that can be than just like hopping from city to city. And it's kind of all the same, like maybe a good restaurant here or there, but that can't compare to like paragliding off of a volcano or, you know, crazy stuff like that. So
Have you done that?
I came back to Oregon. Yeah, I did in
Wow.
Ecuador, and I went through a maybe sketchy business to do it, but it was a great price, so it was very fun.
Worth
Oh,
it.
did you not do it? Did you not do it through university?
No, I did pretty much everything on my own. The only I did get to go to the Amazon, and that was through my university. I'm actually wearing a Galapagos shirt today, so I did that as well
Oh, nice.
when I went.
Are you scuba certified? Is that a
No, I'm
shark?
not, but
Hammerhead?
Jonah is actually. Yeah. No, so my school had scuba certifications, and I would have to do it at the Puget Sound in Washington to get certified. And you know, I like certain levels of discomfort, but I don't like being cold in water. So that
Gotcha.
was not one of them. I'll be on
Nice.
top
That's
of
so
the
cool.
water
So
instead.
what? So you've been traveling every weekend. Is this something that is this like a bucket list thing, or just is this a thing you just do as a habit, or is this I want to do this every week type New Year's resolution, or why?
It kind of just turned into when COVID lifted, I had just had a lot of things that, well, some restrictions lifted, I should say. I just had a lot of things that I wanted to do on the list. And we had some friends that were also outdoorsy enablers. So between the two of us, Oregon State Parks had just reopened their applications to cabins, yurts, tent spots. And because they had just reopened it was the next 6 months all at once. So we booked quite a few, our friends booked quite a few spots, and it turned out being, oh my God, we're busy every weekend. We're going camping somewhere.
This is amazing. Oh my goodness.
So
So
very enjoyable. And Jonah doesn't have any PTO, so it has to be the weekends for the most part.
oh Jonah, come on, man. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, he's killing my vibe.
Good, bye bye. I'm curious. So I'm actually a dreadful planner. I'll be very honest. So with that, I'm curious if, as you say, you're more left brain oriented or possibly organized. Is there any type of methodology or something you just made a to-do list, or is there something more to it?
Oh, well, you know, it's kind of funny because I think my group likes to think I'm the type A, and it's really not true. I don't necessarily like to plan. It's more of like I'm organized because how else could I
Because no one
operate?
else
Like
is
it would
doing
be,
it. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, kind of. I know. Geez, give me some more credit, people.
Come on, friends. What you doing? Heather's pulling the team on her back.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's just I'm that type of personality where I want to do the research, and so it's almost like, you know, picking the whitewater rafting site. I knew that if I picked it, I know that we got the best spot, the best deal, the best company, you know. So it's
Wow.
kind of just like the real lesson to take away is if you're somebody like me is knowing when to stop researching, you know, stop planning and writing out options, and just pick the right one. So you know, I definitely have like a lot of things I like to use, like all trails for hiking. You know, if for traveling, I like Nomadic Matt's blog. He's got a lot of stuff for like backpacking in different countries and stuff like that. So he's got a lot of good stuff. I use Trip Hopper, I think it's called, or just Hopper, to know when to buy flights. So just having a lot of tools at the ready, and then just having everything written out. Because I think, honestly, for my well-being, I have to know what we're going to do. And, you know, every trip and or outdoor excursion requires a level of spontaneity, but like when I was in Europe, I was passing 2-hour lines because I had researched earlier how to, find the other entrance or what time of day to go that everyone thinks they're closed, right? So it's that kind of stuff that makes it pay off.
Oh wow, that's like such a good tip.
Yeah, I save a little time for spontaneity too, because that's always the most fun moments, and how you accidentally find yourself in like an interesting place. And you truly can't schedule every minute of every day anyway, so you always have time for that too.
Can you tell us a story about one of your spontaneous, interesting places that you ended up?
Oh, well, one spontaneous, interesting place I ended up being was in Europe. I don't even know if I should say this on the internet, but I accidentally found myself in a museum that I didn't even get entry for, and I ended up having to go back to the front and explain what happened and get a ticket. But I had like passed this whole group of people and was not even planning to go to that museum, so it was pretty rad because it was something that I would have signed up for if I had realized. But I was just kind of wandering around. And in Prague, I saw the Prague Castle and was like a little bit unimpressed with the crowds. And so I started wandering and found myself at these gardens that was almost totally isolated, multi-level garden with somebody playing like the cello or something in the middle. And I looked it up online later and realized like a lot of celebrities in different Asian countries, like that is the go spot, and it's just like a lot of American or European tourists didn't know about it, and neither did I. It didn't pop up on any of my searches. So
Why was someone playing the cello?
I don't know,
entertain
but
the
it was
Asian
part
people?
of the ambiance. I actually think somebody was setting up for a wedding.
Oh.
But I don't know, because why was somebody playing the cello, but I didn't see the chairs? Yeah. Maybe it was just part of the experience.
That's amazing. So something that I'm curious about is when you've traveled to all these different countries, on the topic of community and culture, what are some things that might have stood out to you that you thought were interesting or culture shock wise, or anything?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, first of all, when I was growing up, my family didn't travel. So we sometimes went to another state if somebody died situation and you went to their funeral. But, we didn't travel a ton. There was definitely nothing abroad. And so I realized in high school that I could apply for scholarships to travel instead. So one of the very first trips I got to go on, it was funded by the U.S. Department of State, called United, what was it? Something youth leadership program, where I got to live in Samoa for a month. And the purpose there was to kind of be kind of an ambassador, like a student ambassador, but also really understand the food insecurity and the culture over there, and come to appreciate that. And so I lived with the host family. And it's amazing just all the little things that culture shock is. I think you hear the word culture shock and you're like, wow, you think everything at once is going to hit you. But, culture shock is actually kind of more of like a W shape, where you're like, this is amazing. Oh my God, everything's hard to understand. And this is amazing. And then it's hard. I'm close to the end of the trip. And then I'm at the end of the trip. So it's awesome again. And I think for that trip, I was just like, always amazed by some of the rules that I learned. Like, you can't eat while you're walking. That's really rude. So I would, pluck a fruit off a tree and then continue on my way while munching on it, and be stopped and told I couldn't do that. Or
you barbarian.
I know. And I'm very much of like an eat on the go person. So that was a habit I had to break. And just the pace of life was different, of course. I mean, if you passed like an older person, you had to bow and say something like manuia or something, like give them your respects. And so sometimes we'd be in a marketplace where you'd like bow like 20 times before you got to the stall that you wanted to get to.
It's actually amazing. I kind of like that. We should do that.
I liked that. Yeah, I agree. We're definitely too youth culture here in the US. That's how I'm making, you know, revenue off of my business. I wonder, I'm marketing myself to be having youthful current knowledge, right, of the industry. But I think the funniest thing there was, well, because they're larger people, and they saw me and they were like, oh, we need to get some meat on this girl's bones. And so the only Samoan phrase I ever still have memorized is Maona whawhatai, which means I'm full, thank you. So,
that's really good.
I was I was starting to learn that I couldn't eat certain foods for health reasons, and learning about how universally food is the way to connect with other people, and that was pretty much true anywhere I went. So having to learn how to reject food but still stay connected with another person is just something I had to learn.
So did you stay with the host family when you were there?
Yeah, I stayed with the host family, and I stayed with the host family when I was abroad in Ecuador as well for a longer time.
I think Samoa is really interesting because I don't know anyone who has visited Samoa. Hugh, do you know anyone?
There's no direct flight there.
It's an American territory, right?
Yeah, so there's a part of Samoa, most of Samoa is, and then they have a part that isn't as well.
Would you recommend visiting? And if so, what are your hot tips on how to have a good time in Samoa?
Oh, cool. Well, in Samoa, I think you should visit if you're not here just to be a tourist. A lot of things you see in, maybe you want to go to Hawaii and you want to like hit up all the tourist attractions. Well, Samoans and Hawaiians are very different people, very different cultures, right? But I think if you're going for a new island type of experience, then why not check out another island that maybe they would want you there. Maybe it's a little less touristy or built up. So obviously the haka is super cool, and Samoans also do the haka. So getting to watch some islanders do the haka or do their traditional fire dances is super cool, and I think that was a highlight of my trip. But also, if you're just looking to relax and have people tell you, it's literally embedded in their cultural taboos to slow the heck down, then that's a good place to go for that as well. And they also got me into coconut water ever since. I am a big coconut water fan. And they actually don't let women like climb coconut trees. It's like suggestive or something. So I'd have to get a guy to go climb up the coconut tree to give me a coconut to drink.
let the guy be suggestive.
I guess, yeah.
That's amazing. Culturally, that is amazing. Yeah. It's just so different.
Well, and I had to wear a lava, which is like big fabric is kind of like your skirt or something that the men and the women both wore it, and if you tied it the wrong way, then that was suggestive too, or if I put my flower on the wrong side, they all laughed at me because it meant I was married, and they knew I wasn't because I was like 17 or something.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Yeah, so just try, wherever you go, be respectful and try and learn some of this stuff beforehand, so you don't have people laughing at you too much.
Heather, is there anything about you that you want to share to our one or two listeners, or a question that do you want to like steer this in any way?
Wow, dear one or two listeners, what should you know?
I like this. This is the first time this opportunity has ever been given to anyone on the show.
Oh,
where to steer the convo.
Geez, I wouldn't know where to start. I think, well, I think one thing is to know is I'm a twin. I think that's usually my fun fact that I like to throw out there.
Identical or
We're fraternal.
fraternal?
Yeah, so she's actually, so I mentioned that I take on some of the left brain stuff at work, but I'm actually very right-brained and creative. And she's the left-brained introvert. I'm the right-brain extrovert. So we're actually like kind of a yin and yang situation. We kind of complete each other. We're the whole brain together.
Is she the one that makes cake?
No, my older sister makes cake. My twin made the shrimp dish, which you might want to try. She's also a great cook. I'm a bad cook. I mean, there's a lot of comparisons we can make here. She's great at math. I'm bad at math. I like to do public speaking. She would rather die. I don't know, not. So.
Ignorant question, but refresh me again. Difference between identical and fraternal?
So fraternal just means that you look different. You're not like, identical is like Dylan and Cole Sprouse, or like Mary Kate and Ashley. So fraternal, she's, she doesn't share the same whatever the science stuff is. But we have, different blood types, and she's taller than me, brown hair, brown eyes.
Curious.
So you might not know it at first. And I think there's going to be more twins these days because a lot more people are having children later, and then they do treatments to make them more fertile, and that just, produces more twins. So I was at a small school with like maybe 50 kids in my class, and there were 5 sets of twins. So
wait, what? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 10% of the kids were a twin in my middle school class.
Wow.
We had quads at our school in high school. They were known as the quads.
Whoa, yeah. I have not met a quad before.
Wow. No, that's pretty incredible.
Nice.
Wasn't there that story a few years back where someone did IVF and they had octo, like 8 kids? Oh my goodness.
Wow. I don't know if I could handle that. I don't know how your body handles that either.
How do you push that many prams?
I don't know, man. I do not know. Yeah, my mom always gave me crap because I was born 30 minutes after my sister. She was like, that was too long. It was because most twins are like 4 to 6 minutes apart, maybe.
God, Heather, first you eat food while walking on the street, and now you're 30 minutes. Come on.
The goal.
The goal. Son.
And you browse around the museum without paying,
That's
but then
right.
you paid later.
Dreadful.
I didn't want some like foreign arrest situation. I don't know.
That's amazing. Wow. Okay, so we're just talking to a rebel. You should have just introduced Heather as a rebel, John. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I call myself resident badass. Definitely wasn't an RA in college. I'm just trying to live it up now,
She was an RA in college.
Trying to let go of that reputation.
Getting found out.
I bet she was the RA that goes to the rooms and it's like, you want this party shut down? Cool, you can pay me a tax.
Ooh, I should have, shouldn't I? Like that. We had one guy. Ramen packet, please.
Yeah, we had one guy that would go to parties, and you would know that the parties would go that night because he was the one on duty, and then he'd stop by everyone, and he would take taxes. I was like, wow, you've really figured out this RA position, haven't you?
I wonder how popular he was. The funny thing is, if anybody reported him, he would have lost his job. So they had equal, if not greater, leverage against that guy.
Yeah. Nice. No, I guess it worked out well. Hey, a symbiotic relationship sometimes. They work.
Yeah. Hugh, were you a party guy? What did you do in college?
Yeah,
I was on the swim team. So we were.
Oh, nice.
What do you call it when a sorority and a frat mix? I don't know. There's like a mixed word.
I feel like that's a bad knock-knock joke or something.
I think it's a co-ed fraternity.
Cool. Well, we didn't have fraternities. We were a small liberal arts school, but instead, the swim team had our own, guys and girls team, and then the different sport teams that kind of like hop around. Yeah.
Team small liberal arts school. I'm with you.
Delightful. Yeah, there's actually one of the coolest things. I never was. We had underground frats that weren't part of it, and I like did one evening's worth of hazing, and it was just like chugging a fifth or something, but not all on my own. But it was like it was cool. But one of my really good friends that was in it that had invited me, and I just kind of like didn't complete it. Every weekend or every other weekend, they would do something called uh oh man, it was like beer baseball. And this is gonna sound
Beer
very fratty,
baseball.
but I was like, this is actually an amazing game that people play. And so they would go to the baseball fields on a weekend in the morning. They would play baseball, and every time you get a hit, you'd have to like chug a beer. Of course, this is centered around drinking.
Nice.
But the way in which to dispute an action, or if there was a tie at the base, you would have to wrestle. It was so funny.
Wait, who are
I
the
like
who are the two people? Or is it just the entire team versus the entire team?
it could turn into an entire team thing if it happened, but usually it would be if the person caught the ball and it's a dispute and it's a tie goes to the runner, they're like, no. And then they like fun argue, and then they're like, all right, let's settle this. And then they throw down. Yeah, it was
Not
barbaric.
gonna lie,
It was
that
great.
sounds pretty fun. Yeah.
It was really
And
fun to
then
watch.
there's probably the one person who like wrestled competitively in high school who ruins it for everyone else.
Right?
It's
Yeah, I
like,
was
damn
gonna
it,
say.
Jimmy.
Dude, sit this one out, bro.
All right, Jimmy. All right. Well, we'll all just drink. Okay, you win. You win.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
recently learned a game called Beersby when I went camping last weekend, where you put like a big stick in the ground on either end, and you have a can balancing on top, and you throw your frisbee, and if you hit the stick and the can falls, the person on the other team is supposed to catch the can. If they don't catch it, you get a point. And if you hit the can and knock it off and it isn't caught, you get 2 points.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's a new sport for those. It was taught to us by somebody that plays ultimate frisbee, so he kind of annihilated us. Since my frisbee tosses are
Oh, so you two
subpar.
are like, it's like on the other
On
side.
either end, yeah, and you're trying to throw. You take turns throwing the frisbee at one another, so it's kind of like, you're taking a shot at each other, basically.
Yeah.
Kind of, maybe like beer pong in
Yeah.
a way, but a little more entertaining, I think.
Now,
That's
are
a
all the
really-
beer cans filled?
No, that would be a new challenge, wouldn't it? No, they're empty, so they go flying.
Got you. So you have to finish that many beer cans before
Oh,
even
but
starting.
part of the rule actually is you have to have a drink in your hand, so it's harder to catch stuff.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
man.
forgot the whole
funny.
like alcohol part of the game.
That's one of those games that when it gets brought up, it's one of those, those people, everyone does it every now and then, but if there's like a lull in a convo or something, you bring up a topic of conversation and you're like, so about this, and it's like your forte, or you try to like, some people try to lead it. You like notice sometimes people who are super deep in a certain subject, that's like the one thing they like to talk about, or they'll always kind of like lead it there. But I feel like the ultimate frisbee guy, I'm like, I'm not surprised. He let it there. He's like, oh, you guys want to play beer frisbee? Oh, I guess I don't know about this game.
I have both frisbees.
Yeah, and I have 12
beer
empty
game.
beers. I bring it with me everywhere, but I didn't mean to start up. I just
Oh yeah. Well, I'm like that person when you're on a road trip and I'm like, oh, we could like sing in the car. You want to like bring it back early 2000s? And everyone's like groans a little bit.
Oh man, so funny thing. I'm back on the dating game, so I'm just going on some dates or meeting some nice people that put up with my terrible humor.
You write your Tinder bio.
Hey, I don't have Tinder actually. I don't actually use Tinder, but Hinge, I'll throw that one out there. It's way better.
Right.
And so with that, what was that?
Oh, I said not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
But if you do want
no.
to sponsor.
But if you do want an elegant UI with a much more modern take that is much more interpersonal and has a better hit rate on just like being real people, it's much better rather than just swiping. Because you can actually like,
Nice.
I actually like the design of it. It's very intentionally designed. The tagline is designed to be deleted. So this is not a sponsored ad, but it's like kind of cool.
Pretty clever.
I like that. And you can actually like comment on each part of a bio. So it's kind of more about the person, not just about looks,
Because it's a mix of pictures and also like responding to prompts.
Yeah, I really like it. It's the best one that I've seen so far, and it's beautifully designed. As a designer, I'm like, okay, they did a good job. But yeah, with that, I totally forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I remember. So you were saying, you lead the combo to, to singing in the car. So now there's actually a thing I've realized. I now have like 3 filter questions, and 3 filter questions.
Oh,
They're nothing big. It's actually 1, do you eat tomatoes? 2, do you eat onions? And 3, are you okay with people whistling in the car?
okay. So I'm assuming the third is that's on you, Hugh. What's the first 2 about?
I don't know. I just find like if my mom can't cook you a meal and has to make a whole separate side dish, I just don't think I really want to try.
I hear you.
I respect it. I respect vegans, vegetarians, tomato eaters, non-tomato
eaters, though. That's where you draw the line.
But I just quietly, I'm just like, you're great. That's okay. I love people, but just not my relationship partners.
That's so funny because knowing Hugh, he's referencing like really specific pain points from previous girls that he's dated.
Ah, okay. So this is like the relationship red flag was, damn, I knew all along she didn't like tomatoes.
I should have known.
No, it's because I not put up, but I like tried. I was like, sure, maybe that would be okay. I'll give it a shot. Don't hate it till you try it. And then,
what would you say are like your red flags then? Like what's
those are red flags.
Like for us it's like the guy that has like a photo in fishing. Like, is that your red flag?
No, genuinely like I remember a few moments in my life where my heart has dropped. One of them was I once just had a meal with a lady. We weren't even on a date. It was just like Airbnb. There was a time when you can like just meet random people and just get meals. And this one I thought was cute. And I got a bit of butterflies when we just grabbed a meal. But she then said, I was like, oh yeah, so how big's your family? And she's like, oh yeah, every year we go back to the East Coast and we rent out the town hall, and all of my family members come. And I'm like, wait, how many family members do you have? And she's like, oh, maybe like 100. Wow. And I was like, and my face and my heart, I've never felt it just go, oh. Like big families, that's awesome. I respect all of that. That's super cool. I come from a really small family. Like I have a mom, dad, sister, me, and I don't have grandparents anymore. Like I have a cousin. And so when I heard that, I
beat you. I have 2. I have 2 cousins.
Darn it. I just want to be cool, And so the other thing is, let's see. I'll trade you. That's one of them. What about you? We'll trade off. We'll do round robin here.
Ooh, yeah. I think if a guy's not willing to wear pink, like not make that a part of his wardrobe, that's a red flag to me. Like usually that's tied into some kind of like masculinity thing that I'm not here to worry about.
Huh. Jonah, we all know you wear pink.
Whenever he wears pink, I give a lot of positive reinforcement. I'm like, you look so good. Like, yeah. Look at that
damn, Daniel.
Like feeling himself.
With the pink kicks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, John, what's yours?
John? What do you got? He's just taking notes in the corner.
While I think about it, I'm curious why a family of 100 was a turnoff for you, Hugh, because it's out of that person's control, and also
it freaked me out. I didn't say it was maybe not a red flag. That was just the first moment. Oh, hey, Daddy, could you turn that back on? The light. Thanks, appreciate it. As I like, none of them were like massive red X's, like the big bold X's that cause an X. And you come to terms with it, of course, I think. But I definitely just remember that moment being, oh, I have fear. Maybe, I mean, I can get over it, of course. But the biggest thought was, oh my God,
it's already wedding, though.
Hard to remember names. And, like, how do I remember 100 names? Oh my God. it was interesting. Yeah, I'd be open to it, I guess, but I don't know.
I think my second one would be guys that still live with their parents.
Oh.
No,
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Dad, come here. Come here. I don't need to meet you. Come
He's
say
the
hi.
he's
Okay, I'll take it on my chin. That's actually the first thing I usually drop in a first date. I'll just be like, yeah, you know,
good.
my dad's 92. I live at home. Like, love
Oh,
helping out.
really?
You know, like,
Wow. Okay,
I
so
hope
that
that's
makes
okay.
sense why you don't have like a ton of family members.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
dad's 76 now, and I'm the oldest. I'm the person that I thought I had the oldest parent out of my friends.
Well,
So
we're
you
not
beat
friends, so
me.
you know, we're not. You didn't beat me.
Oh, that's how it is. I
Uh-oh.
see.
Did I do that?
Damn.
Yeah, I'd say my red flag is girls that try and like establish the relationship too soon. Already putting on a label on it. Friends.
So the one that I thought of was when a girl is not close with her parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's a lot of reasons why that could be the case. So like maybe you just didn't grow up with a good family situation, and that's like totally out of your control. But it does suggest a lot about just like how you grew up, and if that was like a hectic environment or a loving environment. And yeah, it says a lot like about how you would approach relationships. And yeah, I mean that one kind of sucks because a lot of the times it's like not in your control. Like
What a
if you
douche.
have shitty parents, but that that's kind of like pretty telling for me. Like it says a lot if you grew up and you know all of our parents have faults, but like if they tried their best, like if they sincerely tried their best, then like
Mm.
that says a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, unfortunately not everyone had that.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Would you say kind of like in addition to that, like what about something that's like sibling relationships or like, you know, does that matter to you too then? Like you want them to be close with their siblings too?
um I feel like parents is a bigger tell for me because
Mm-hmm.
I mean siblings is obviously a part of it, but then with parents it's like
They're the role
they
model
they
in a
set the
way.
example.
Yeah.
They're the
Okay,
ones
I
when like
see.
as a kid they're like, no, you can't do that.
What about setting the example for relationship then? Like, is it something that you think is a good sign if the parents have a good relationship? Does that matter to you? Because if they're setting examples for the kid, what about setting examples for how you show love to someone?
I mean, yeah, I mean, this is all like, there's a, like, this would all be great. Like, it would be like,
Mm-hmm.
if the parents still love each other, if the parents are emotionally stable, don't have anything to prove, like, all these
Yeah.
things. And uh, I think with that much granularity, it's like, it's hard. Like, at some point, you have to be like, all right, I accept this whole person,
Yeah.
uh,
Sure.
or not.
Yeah,
But
you know what they say. It's
yeah.
like you don't just marry the person, you marry their family too. And
True that.
I think it's very true. And there's
Well, all
trade-offs.
of Jonah's cousins will sing in the car with me, so they've passed the test.
Amazing.
Yes.
I once dated a guy. The reason I asked is I dated a guy who had parents who he was like, oh yeah, they're like the total role model of love and how to show love to your partner. Like my dad brings my mom like flowers every day, and he writes her love notes and surprises her. And so, one time I went to meet the parents and realized that the dad also didn't let his wife make decisions. And so, I was dating the guy that was like, this is the ideal dynamic. And I was like, yeah, you didn't mention every part of their relationship there. So, it's definitely a balance of, I think you've got a better idea, John, where it's like, a stable parent dynamic and good expectations, but you don't necessarily want them, you know, the parents to be modeling the relationship that you want to have, it sounds like. So that checks out.
Yeah, I mean, there's also like, again, my parents awesome, gave it their best shot, but they're also like flawed individuals, and so there's some degree of like, oh, I'm gonna try to do that a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
So
Totally.
out of curiosity, what was that like what did you see where
Huh?
where the dad did not allow the wife to make decisions?
It was kind of just like even just everyday decisions. He clearly wanted to be the ones calling the shot about like, what are we eating, where are we driving, who's driving. Like he definitely wanted to be the one.
Like the man of the house.
Yeah, the man of the house in a way. Yeah, so I was like, ooh, maybe I want more of like a symbiotic thing going on, like a little more, you know, give and take. And it seemed like this guy was like, provide for the wife, and then, you know,
and then her entire soul
is,
like,
yeah,
is part of this family unit that
yeah.
I am the head honcho of. Oh,
yeah,
man.
a little bit. So that was like a little bit of a surprise for me, but
Wow.
yeah.
That's so curious. I suspect if the son was talking about his parents in such a way, it worked for them, but it's different for others. That's so curious.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'd work for him and another gal, you know. That's, some people are totally down for that dynamic, but I'm like, I like to feel like I have a valued opinion, because I'm very quick to say if I really don't know what the hell I'm talking about usually. But that doesn't mean that's in every situation, right? Or my opinion doesn't matter. So that was kind of the vibes that they gave off.
Yeah.
He would just kind of, they would make vacation plans and he would cut her off. You know, it would definitely be his vision. So her suggestions were very much not the choices that were made. So yeah.
Wow, that's difficult.
And you
So
can see that just from like one meal.
No, oh God, no, we traveled together. So it was a vacation. And I think, you know, if you travel with someone, you usually figure out like who they are and what the dynamic is, you know? So I'm about to figure out who John really is when we go to Bend.
Oh shit.
But yeah, we spent enough time together that it's like, you know, you're in a slightly stressful situation. How do they respond? And his response was normally like blaming her. And I was like, you know, just like the person there that was like, you made the decision and you're blaming her for your choices.
He's like, you let me make this decision.
I don't know, dude.
That sounds dreadful. That sounds so bad.
Yeah. It was okay though. I mean, you know, there was good. We were in San Francisco. There's good food and stuff.
You went on a vacation.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of close to an hour. Usually we ask like if you have any parting thoughts and yeah, any words of wisdom to our one or two listeners.
Words of wisdom. Well, wait to buy a Nintendo Switch until they come out with the newer version, probably next year. If you're thinking about buying, just hold off. I'm very delayed gratification myself, so I could have done it if I didn't buy a Switch a year ago. You know, I think that's the most wisdom I've got. I would, yeah, I would say, you know what, being a jack of all trades or a Jill of all trades is the right thing to be. I think a lot of, especially like, you know, let's say your one or two audience members are a younger audience and they're still like figuring out what they want to do. Like, you know, you don't have to pigeonhole yourself and become an expert if you don't want to. If you know, public speaking's interesting, but writing's interesting, but like, you know, the arts is interesting, but I'm also into this, and that, you know, it's amazing where a lot of jobs or, you know, passions or hobbies that you have can be multifaceted. You know, a lot of us aren't just doing the same thing that requires one skill every day. So being able to kind of flex all of those muscles will come in handy for you. And so I think it just takes a following your interests, and if you try something and you royally suck. I have done many of things, like I joined an adult softball league thinking I would kick butt because everyone else were like dads with their like beer gut, and I was like, I play tennis, I can hit a ball, but turns out I can't really run. You can try stuff, suck, and that's a part of the learning journey, because then it gets you just a little bit closer to really knowing who you are, and letting that kind of expand your opportunities for yourself. So don't be afraid to suck either.
Amazing. And also, what's your favorite song to sing along to?
Oh man. Well, my friends and I, the one that I can get them on is Mamma Mia, but I would say for myself, my karaoke go-to, I'm a soprano. And I think a lot of people don't realize if you have a high voice, like everyday pop songs are not high enough. Ariana Grande hits high notes, but she's kind of in that mezzo place. So my karaoke go-to are songs from Frozen, like For the First Time in Forever, because she's got that like fruity little high Disney princess voice. Absolutely. Here, let's go. you are you Elsa or Anna? We can
I'm a baritone now, but when I was in the choir, when I was in the Phoenix Boys Choir, I used to be a first soprano.
The Phoenix Boys Choir.
Yes.
Oh.
We're in a classic
baritone's
cantata.
a cool place to be.
Yeah, good time. Hello.
Yeah. Oh, right on. Yeah, soprano's fun because then you always get to sing like the main parts. But yeah, I would say usually the fruity Disney songs are where I like to flex. Fun fact number 2, actually, we're at the end, but I don't think you knew, I was Elsa for a summer or 2 for children's Disney, or for children's birthday parties. I was a snowflake ice queen or something like that, the unbranded Elsa.
You might have mentioned it.
Yeah. And I got paid to just sing and play like ice games, and the kids really believed you were Elsa because they're like 6 years old.
I remember you were mentioning like they would ask like, oh, how did you make it here? And you'd have to like make up something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the kids would be like, how did you get from Arendelle to Corvallis, Oregon? And because we would have to park a couple of blocks away. I had a friend who was Anna, and so we'd come over, and I'd say, oh yes, I had to take my ship all the way from Arendelle. It's parked just around the corner. And I tell them, Olaf would love to be here, but my ice powers don't work here. So, my snow flurry, doesn't work. So I brought you a stuffed animal of Olaf. He wanted to give this to you. Like, you had to come up with all the BS. You had to be on your ish, because little kids know more about Frozen than you ever will. So we had like a lot of like stuff we came up with to explain amazing. Why we were there.
This like for some reason brings up
just a little bit of context about why I might sing a fruity Disney princess song.
For some reason that whole building out and crafting audible stories to just make kids happy it brought up the question of, when did your parents, or did they ever tell you that Santa wasn't real? So when?
I had an older sibling. Come on, I knew that.
I remember.
She ruined that for me long ago.
I don't remember how old I was, but I just remember going up to like dad or mom, and I was just like, "Is Santa real?" And I was just inside. I just asked it. I was like, "Is Santa real?"
You felt it.
And then dad went, "No." And I just remember, like, I still sometimes think about it, I'm like, of all things you could have said there, you just went no.
You will never
dad. I don't
forget.
think mom was not cold. Mom's not cold-hearted. Dad, though. Yeah, dad's from Frozen.
His dad is sure. His dad is a historian.
So yeah.
Let me tell you about Saint Nicholas.
That man was actually a creep. Oh my
man.
Gosh.
Well,
historian's a cool job.
Yeah, that's amazing. He He's a character, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, I love you all, but the Suns game is starting because, you know, Suns in 4, gotta go rep it. Never gonna be back in the playoffs ever again or the finals. So gonna cut this one short. Well, we hit the time. It's great. Heather, you're incredible. Thank you so much for coming on to another episode of the Moon Tea Podcast. You're seriously so cool. Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
Nice to meet you, Hugh.
Everybody, I do not remember the exact thing, but hey, go to Fiverr and it's Heather MK Resumes.
Yeah, Heather MK Resume. You got it.
And it's soon to be MK Resumes once the URL.com is going to be live. Hey. And with that, we are here to talk about craft, community, and building meaningful careers. And I guess today about deal breakers in relationships or red flags and other. So with that, tune in next week. Thanks for chopping in. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.